Okay, so maybe you clicked on this video because you are having trouble a little bit. Maybe you're on self-improvement. You're trying to improve yourself, trying to make yourself better. You're going to the gym, etc. Building your business or whatever. You probably clicked on this video, I'm guessing, right? Because you are having trouble um sort of convincing your parents what's right and what you should be doing, and trying to convince them, like, oh, like you're trying to explain to them what is what you're trying to do, what's right and everything, what's right for you. Like, you're trying to tell them, my interests are what matters and everything like that. But the problem is they have, since they've lived longer than you, they've they have more experience. They think they have more experience and everything, which I guess they do, but not in like this matter anyway. So I'll get into that. But they think they have more experience. They think they know a lot more than you, and like, you're just dreaming about stuff. And anyway, I made this video for you because maybe you have trouble trying to convince your parents of stuff, trying to get them on your path, trying to get them to, maybe hold you accountable a little bit, or, anything like that. This video will help you in at least some way, if not a lot. So, there's a few things to understand. You need to understand that, yes, okay, they care about you. I mean, they obviously, they love you, unless you have like really bad parents, but they most likely love you, and they care about you, right? So one of the reasons they might not think something is right, or something like that, is they might think it's not good for you, and they want you to do, what they think is right and everything. And they want you to succeed, right? And they think what they're doing is going to make you succeed, right? So they think that, but they they care about you, all right? But they also, it's inevitable that they will somewhat care about themselves and their needs and desires, because maybe they care a little more about you, but they also care about the other things in life. Like, I mean, obviously, yeah, it's reasonable to worry about money, right? Obviously, it's reasonable, right? But they worry about it. They don't have the knowledge and understanding of how important what you're doing is, and they don't really understand. Like, they might think they understand, and they might say they understand, but they don't understand, I'm telling you. So what do you do about this? So let me give you an example of a problem that this random guy that I'm making up a story about might have. So let's say he let's say he doesn't let's say he's trying to convince his parents that eating healthier is worth the extra money. Or buying the organic groceries is better than buying, like, it's worth the money. It's like, you need the money, like, it doesn't matter about the money and stuff. Alright, so his parents are worried about the money, because it's obvious organic is healthier. It's just true. I mean, you can't, like, deny. You can't say, like, oh, organic's bad for you. So it's 100% about the money. So first you have to figure out, the step one is to figure out what is holding them back. Why do they care about this? What is their motive? Most likely, usually in most situations, it will be money. Sometimes it might be they care about your health, or they care about, it can be different things, but usually it's money. In this case, them not wanting to buy organic because it's expensive is because, like, the core purpose that this is even a problem is because of the money, right? So we need to overcome this somehow. Like, this is step one. We need to figure out what their why they aren't just agreeing. And then you need to figure out, you know, you need to figure out okay, so you need to figure out what their motive is, and you just somehow overcome this in some way, right? Now, I think the first way you could try, obviously, sometimes this might not work, but the best way you can first try is by trying to convince them. Obviously, this most likely hasn't worked for you, because if you click on, like, if that worked, then obviously you'd be fine. But I'll teach you first how you can be more, convincing and stuff like that. Also, I want to put out there, like, a disclaimer type thing. I'm not telling you to deceive your parents. That is not what I'm telling you to do. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just saying, something that we know is right, we know will be beneficial for us. We want to try and get our parents on board. We want to try and get them to agree so that we can make progress faster and everything like that. So I'm not trying to say, oh guys, this is how you hide shit from your. No, this is this is how you. I'm just like saying, I'm just trying to kind of make it easier for you so you can progress faster than, so you can progress faster than everyone. Progress faster because your parents are on board. Like, that's a big thing that a lot of people holds them back, is because their parents, don't want to drive them to the gym, don't want to buy the stuff. But it's really, I'm actually trying to benefit, like, we're trying to benefit your parents as well as you. So I just wanted to put that out there, because a lot of people would be like, oh, and put it in the comments. Just just chill, alright? So we want to figure out, first we want to figure out what their motive is, but then we want to figure out the main point of, the main way, I think the best way to convince them of something is that you need to tell them, like, you need to show them, usually, older people, like parents, grandparents, especially, they like, the doctors are right, all the studies and whatever, all the doctors have told them, and the government and stuff, right? They usually believe what is, like, the scientific, like, evidence and stuff, which, if you have some sort of knowledge, most studies are bullshit because they don't. Okay, yeah, so basically most studies are bullshit, because I'm not saying that the study was, like, bullshitted, but that the study, like, studies on diet and things like that, and most stuff like the, studies on things in your life that you do, or changes that you make, most of those are going to be just faulty in general, because that there's so many different factors. You can't make all of the other factors control and then control one thing, and you can't do that. Like, that's not possible, because there's so many things. When you wake up in the morning, how old you are, what. You can't just take 1,000 men, 1,000 women, and do, like, change their one thing in their diet. Because what if they what if they stop eating cookies, but then they start eating, like, but then they also stop eating butter, so butter's bad because, they lowered their heart disease risk. Yeah, because they stopped eating the cookies. But, like, you can't control everything. I mean, I'm just saying, it's just an example, but most studies are just, you can't rely on studies. You can't rely on scientific evidence, because most of it is just actually a lot of it is actually corrupted, but even the other stuff, even the other stuff that isn't necessarily like corrupted or anything, it can be like faulty, because most studies you just physically can't control. You can't have every variable controlled except one, like that's not possible, right? So they're going to rely on studies. So we want to show them a lot of studies, that are in the favor of us, but also we need to have some logic behind what we're going to say, right? We need to show them some evidence, and then also explain that and show them why that works, why that's true, or whatever you're doing. But also we want to have the scientific like data, evidence and everything like that. But since there's so much conflicting shit on the internet and everything, there's so much conflicting evidence that it's hard to just go by that. So we also need to have some emotional type, more mental, like, how do I explain this? More emotions. How do I explain this? You need to have, rather than just having evidence, like science, you need to also have like emotional convincing. Like you need to, let me just give you an example, because I don't know how to explain this. Rather than only showing them a study and explaining the study, maybe you also explain to them how it would benefit you, how it would benefit them, right? How you need to explain maybe, less science, still show them like some science, explain it, but since that's what they mostly care about, but also you need to have some sort of something else. Like you need to have something else, not just this, like the science, because that is unreliable and there's so much conflicting data and everything like that. So you need to have some like common sense. That's kind of what I was looking. You need to have. I say we rely more on common sense, because if you think about it, yeah, there are a ton of studies that say, saturated fat is bad, right? But there are also a ton of studies that say it's good. And there's also a ton of studies that say it lowers the risk of heart disease. There's also a lot of studies that say, there's some studies that say you should be using canola oil, which we obviously know isn't true, but I'm just saying you can't rely on science. So you need to rely on some common sense and really just think like, how does this make sense? How does it make sense that people were eating mostly animals and heart disease didn't exist? And the amount of saturated fat it's like mostly found in animal foods, right? So how does that make sense? Yeah, sure, like I'm kind of giving you an example, like talking to you in like what I might say to my parents or something, like, yeah, like sure, they didn't have as long of a life, like that's so many, I swear I hate how many people use that excuse. They didn't live as long of a life as they Yeah, they didn't live quite as long as us, but that's not because they ate not because they ate certain things. That's because they had poor sanitation. They died from diseases, right? If you think about it, they died from diseases. That's like what everyone, they didn't die from heart disease. If you're thinking that's what it causes, causes heart disease, which kills everyone. But it didn't kill our ancestors. And that's what you're saying is causing the heart disease. You're saying this is causing heart disease, which is you can't say that the ancestors, were better than us because they died way earlier. They didn't die from heart disease. Heart disease didn't exist. Barely, anyway. So, you can't... They died from other things. Like, you can't say that. But anyway, you need to have some convincing skills, and you also need to use some common sense. And kind of like, you need to also be confident. You need to be very confident. You can't be like, oh, I think, well, actually, like, you need to be like, well, okay, it didn't do our ancestors were, you need to be confident. You need to be like, Mom, I did, this is, so you got to have some confidence. One, you got to know their motive. And I think the two greatest things that you can use are, one, you need to convince them in a way that they will benefit. You need to find a way that they will benefit from whatever you're trying to convince them of. You need to find a way they will benefit, because, again, right, like I said before, they do care about themselves. It's inevitable. Like, yeah, they care about you, they love you, but they care about themselves as well, and like their money and everything. So you need to find a way they will benefit, and also a way you will benefit. And you need to use common sense rather than science. Maybe like a study here or there, because that's what they're like interested in. But mostly use common sense. I'm telling you, that's really common sense literally means, like, it should be obvious to know this. So if you use common sense, then it will be like obvious, right? So just use this. I hope this helped a little bit, to try and, like, if they benefit, they will most likely do it unless you don't. So it's just a whole game. But I hope this video helped clear things up. I hope I helped you in some way, at least, to try and convince your parents and try and do what's right for yourself, and try and get your parents along with it and benefit them and everything. Just I hope this video helped you, and yeah, peace out. See you next video.